Welcome, everybody, to today's business spotlight interview with Mr. Stuart Anderson from Expert DPO. Hi, Stuart.
Hi, Tom. Great to see you again.
And fantastic. Stuart and I have known each other for a while, and we met several years ago in a networking group. Stuart, tell our listeners, what do you do and how long have you been doing it?
So, Expert DPO, we've been around since 2018. We started out as a pure data protection consultancy business arising from the advent of the GDPR. The GDPR became enforceable in May 2018. I had been working in a software startup developing a product around GDPR for some time before that, and found myself uniquely available to the job market in May, 2 days before the GDPR day on the 25th of May 2018. So I decided I was going to start a business doing GDPR consultancy, and it's grown from just myself in 2018 to today. We have 10 certified DPOs with various certifications, and we have some information security experts. So we now are the leading provider of outsourced data protection officer services in Ireland. We're the largest private provider of outsourced DPO services to the Irish public sector. And we have opened offices in London, Milan, and Bahrain over the last couple of years. So we don't just do the data protection consultancy, outsourced data protection officer service. We're about to offer a smaller product offering aimed at small to medium entities so that they can avail of some of the really great functionality of our DPO service, and basically ensure that they are doing everything they need to, and they'll always have a number that they can call us on to draw down on some hours if required as well. So that's us.
Very good. So tell me, what would you attribute your growth to?
Okay, so there are a couple of pillars that we work by in Expert DPO. The first one is trust. So the whole business is built on trust. No one will ever do business with you, no matter what your business makes, does, provides, the services you provide, if they don't trust you. Okay. So the way that we build trust is that lots of clients come to us in their hour of need. They might have had a data breach or a particularly complex subject access request, or someone's made a complaint to the Data Protection Commission, and they may have a framework that is mature, or they may have no framework. So we go about that in a non-judgmental manner. As I like to say, we put our arm around clients and look after them in their hour of need. So that trust is based on us knowing exactly what we're doing, exactly the right approach that we need to take. And, we talked earlier a little bit about culture. We've built a very healthy culture within Expert DPO. So what does that mean? We've brought the right people in at the right time. And I'm very lucky in that sense that the way things have worked out, because we had COVID, lots of businesses contracted, but we grew immensely through COVID. So we've been able to hire people remotely within Ireland that can deliver our services, that are the best people that we could get at that time. We're going through another round of hiring another DPO and another internal legal counsel. And by building that, again, the majority of business has grown through referral business. So again, you alluded to us being in a network group, but some members of that network group have pushed a lot of business our way by virtue of our business aligning to what their business does. So, for example, information technology managed service providers would pass a lot of business our way because they work with clients, they see a gap where we can provide a lot of value, and that fits nicely. And the V word there, value. I'm very passionate, almost evangelical, about providing value to clients that in turn helps them to protect value. So what does that mean? Well, we're not going to charge massive amounts of money. like other organizations might, for doing a bare minimum amount of work. We charge a fair daily rate for, and you get a full day's work. That's value. But that value is translated into the business by them being able to know how to protect their data, having a framework in place that protects their data, that ultimately protects them from data breaches, from complaints, and ultimately from an investigation from the Data Protection Commission, and therefore protecting value and stopping them being fined.
Sure. And that can cost a lot of money. So you mentioned building your team and creating a great culture for your team. What are the top qualities, the top, say, 3 qualities you would look for when you're employing people?
Okay, so obviously we look for people being either certified data protection officers or having industry recognized certifications and qualifications. But that just gets them through the door. So what we're looking for is people with integrity, people that are honest. So, you know, in this, it's rather like being a doctor or a consultant. Sometimes you have to give people bad news, but it's the way in which you portray that bad news that it's like a bedside manner. Okay. So we need people that have integrity and honesty, but we can trust to deliver the right information to the client at the right time to get the best outcome, and that can do it in a personable and amenable and trustworthy way. So it's that they have to fit in. We have a very diverse and multi-skilled team. And the reason that I've done that is because, you know, I try and hire people better than me. Expert DPO has never been and will never be just about me as a person or a personality. It's about building a multi-skilled team that can either work on their own or work collaboratively on client projects to get the best outcome for the client. And a lot of, you know, what we see is a lot of work collaboratively on client engagements that really do. I'm very proud of that, because it's not something that I've implemented as a directive, but it's something that had just happened because of the type of people we have sat around the table. So, you know, it's very difficult bringing the right person in, because it doesn't take a lot to destabilize a healthy culture and a collaborative environment. So, yeah, there are a lot of things that we look at, but, you know, the kind of qualities that, you know, would you like to go out for a coffee with this person is a general bellwether of whether, you know, you're going to get along with someone. So they've got to fit in.
Yeah.
They've got to be along for the ride, because the overriding ethos is that we deliver excellence. You know.
Excellent. So you built a great company, you've grown to 10 people, you're expanding around the world with a tremendous success, which is great. So if you just had to start that same business again from square one, what would you do differently?
I'd probably expand earlier. So at the start of COVID, I had the opportunity to work on a very large contract as a contractor with Ireland's largest employer. I won't name them, but they're a public sector body. And that took up 100% of my time. And throughout COVID at the start, when business contracted a little bit, it was great to have that security. I've only just exited from that particular contract earlier in 2024. And I think I stuck around too long. So with hindsight, and hindsight's always a great thing, I think I should have exited that contract a couple of years earlier in order to grow Expert DPO more than we have. And I think the opportunity was there to do that. But again, it's very difficult when you have that safety blanket of a nice consultancy contract. You feel a bit safe. So I suppose, in short, I wouldn't stay wrapped up in the safety blanket for so long if I was going to do it again.
So get out of your comfort zone a little bit more.
Get out of your comfort zone.
So tell me this, obviously, running a business as a business owner can be a lonely place at times. What are the biggest learnings you found out about yourself when you became a business leader?
Okay. I would say it is very lonely. It is very lonely at times. It's very scary at times. The learning that I would take is that it's important to have a network. And I'm not just talking about a network that you can tap into who might give you a referral or introduce you to people, but it's that going for a walk and a coffee with someone. I mean, we used to call them one-to-ones in the networking group, but for your own mental health, it's very important. I mean, we lived cooped up in our own houses for 3 years. We couldn't see in-laws even or friends. We couldn't do anything social. So it's important to go and do that social aspect and sit down, chew the fat. And it might be, you might talk about business, you might talk about family, you might talk about sport. I know we have a shared passion of F1, for example. But it's important to do that because there is more to life than just the business. Business is remarkably important to my life. Okay, but I have a family, I have young children, and I also have a social network outside of work that just keeps me grounded because, you know, when things are tough, you could be working night and day and morning and lying awake at night worrying about things, but it's really good to have that support network separate from work that you can just take an hour or two, go for a bit of lunch or a coffee and just decompress. You know,
make
very
time
important
for you. Make time for you because you are important. 100%. Couple of last questions here, Stuart, I can ask you. For those people who are in the startup stages or thinking of starting a business, what advice would you give to that 18 to 24-year-old?
Okay, so most people in startups, they're bootstrapping, they're doing whatever they need to get to minimum viable product or proof of concept, proof of value, whatever terminology they use. My advice to them as a regulatory compliance guy is to don't lose sight of that. Okay. So get your frameworks embedded into your business early stage. Okay. If you don't, you know, if you're developing software, there is always technical debt. So we're moving fast, we're breaking things, we might decide to use a new platform or a different database structure or whatever. And that's just building up technical debt. If you don't put any of the compliance measures in, you know, if you're handling personal data, you've got to comply with GDPR. You've got to make sure that data is secured from being breached or unauthorized access and things like that. Consider that early days. Do what you need to. It doesn't have to cost you the earth. And I know lots of startups, you know, really have to keep things tight from a finance perspective.
Sure.
But the reason I'm saying this is because as you scale and as you grow, that framework can, if it's designed properly, grow with your business. It can actually be a driver for your business. It can set you out from other startup companies doing what you do, and it can make you a standout because you've got this stuff sorted. You take this stuff seriously. And as you scale, it will grow and it will serve you as you become larger because the problems you have when you're small are going to be of a much larger magnitude when you become a larger company and you start to scale. So get your house in order early days. That would be mine.
Fantastic. Last question. Where do you see your industry going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay, so we're seeing a lot of movement in the technology space. So we now have lots of companies selling their systems, their artificial intelligence systems. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Okay. So we now have the EU AI Act, which is very closely aligned with the GDPR. So we are actually rolling out as part of our data protection impact assessment, where we have a client using AI. We're doing the AI assessments from the EU AI Act as part of that data protection impact assessment process. So we're identifying risks from an AI perspective and a GDPR perspective. Okay. So I think technology is growing at a pace that it's very hard to keep up with regulatory. But as technology becomes more complex, we're going to have to understand that it's going to become regulated. And organizations, again, that have a mature level of understanding of regulatory, you know, we love working with regulated organizations like banking sector, healthcare sector, because they already have a lot of regulation that they have to comply with. So being compliant with GDPR or EU AI Act or the Digital Markets Act or whatever it is just the cost of doing business to them. So they understand it, but they need expert help in getting there. So I think we're going to see a lot more regulation. I think we're going to see, after the initial burst of excitement around AI, there'll be a lot of work to understand what have people implemented, what have they built, is it AI, is it machine learning, is it generative AI, and what do we need to do from a compliance perspective to square that circle in terms of making sure that we're doing everything that we have to do.
So interesting times ahead for everybody. So for those people who want to get in touch with you, Stuart, how would you recommend that they ring you for a chat, email you for a chat, go to your website?
Yeah, so our website is expertdpo.com. You can get hold of me at stuart@expertdpo.com, and we can take it from there.
Fantastic. Stuart Anderson, Expert DPO, many thanks indeed for your time. Talk to you again soon.
Been a pleasure, Tom.